Welcome back to Wander and Wonder. Today I'm going to look a lot less at the camera than normal and try to be inspired by the muses of nature and creation. Just as I said that, of course, there's a little squirrel running up a tree. Very nice. The concept I would like to talk about today is quantum entanglement. It's a very neo-scientific way talking about things having come into contact with each other and to remain connected constantly and outside of the realm of regular physics, outside of the realm of material physics. So that is to say that let's say you see a stranger walking down the street. You've never seen this person before, and you catch eyes, and that's it. You never see each other again. This concept of quantum entanglement would say that moment created a connection between you two that can never be destroyed, can never be extinguished, and that connection can have effects far beyond what we consider within the realm of understanding. That one person may show up in another person's dream, and that is a big piece of hearsay, that you can't see someone you haven't already seen in a dream. We pass so many strangers on a day-to-day basis. That we can't really be sure if that's true or not, but there is even a theory that every person with whom one becomes quantumly entangled, you were already entangled before the moment of connection, and that this type of connection actually exists outside of what we consider linear time, or time as we know it, from past to future, measured by seconds, kind of on a solar lunar cycle, with the months and the years and all that. But yeah, so I think that people themselves can be quantumly entangled, but I also think that people can become entangled with places, and that is to leave sort of a residue in the area, that you visited in the past. And we've probably talked about this in the past, but it's that residue that imbues something with significance. There are many things that can imbue a place with significance, and that is the magical aspect of anything. Is to say, let's say that you hear a legend of an old village in Scotland, that was protected by a priestly warrior class for centuries, and to somebody without that knowledge, the village would probably just look like a standard village. But somebody who has imbued this village with this story is experiencing somewhat of a psychic residue, or a form of magical thinking. And I think that magic in the everyday is something that needs to be discussed. That magic is not really that esoteric at all. It is simply the understanding of magic where it begins to get more and more obscure. But I think understanding this world like this is quite important. Like, we live a magical world. We live in a magical world of fantasy simply by creating preconceived notions about the way that things are. And it's interesting how things like the status quo, or the way things are generally in public, can be affected by intentional violation of the status quo, or that is to say being weird. The idea that we have of the way things are is subject to flux based on any activity taking place within that concept. So anyone in the town of Portland is the reason that Portland is weird, so they say. Or anyone in Texas with, a cowboy hat and a ranch is the reason that Texas, gives us the idea that it does. These are all forms of magical thinking. Thinking about a people, a place imbued with the residue of those people, that is a form of magical thinking, and it is informed by knowledge. And I'm trying to look for a different word, because it's not necessarily informed by knowledge, but it is informed by myth. We tend to think that the useful myths survive, but it's really hard to tell. But these are things, you can even see things like stereotypes emerge. Stereotypes are not really all that different from archetypes. You can see the word types in there. We could simply just say the types of people, originating from certain lands are a certain type of way. And that way is something which within the realm of understanding surpasses the individual and occupies a space of meta individuality, or just meta concept, meta archetypal. I don't think it needs to be meta archetypal, but so there are different layers to these imbuings, to these enchantings, you could even say. There are different layers, and the first layer is conscious. It's that of which you know. And so if you're in a place and you know that you buried a dog underneath the ground like 3 or 4 feet, but you cleaned it up really well, the grass has grown over, like you have a conscious awareness of that enchantment, that weirdness going on in that area, okay? But as far as like the couple that came there in high school and like made out and 45 years, you don't have any conscious awareness. You can only assume, oh, maybe this is all forest, you have no idea what other people have imbued the place with. And that's where we begin to explore the reality of objective enchantment, or I guess that's a good way to put it. So if something has happened there outside of your world of the 5 senses, I guess there's something in between that. It would be to have read the myth, to have read a legend, not have known for sure, but have a certainty or a faith in that there's something imbued. Okay, so we have like conscious, like sensory knowledge of enchantment. We have belief or faith, which is the second level of enchantment. And then we have complete unconsciousness towards understanding of what has happened at a certain place. Within that realm of unconsciousness, we can explore whether or not it can have an effect on you. And I think this is a big reason why a pretty good percent of the population just cannot be hypnotized. I think it also just stands to reason why a lot of people are atheistic. It's that unless you can experience a reality directly, there is no reason to put faith in it. There is no reality that exists without that knowledge. So this is a perspective, not necessarily what I think, but this is a perspective. So that's to say, like, if a voodoo priestess totally puts a curse on you and you think she's completely full of shit, either that or you didn't even know at all, like, you're not going to be affected by it whatsoever. And now there's an opposing belief that things which have happened in a place, which imbue it with significance. So we could take something intense, like what if a murder has taken place somewhere, and would a passerby or someone none the wiser have some sort of feeling of something having happened there. And this is where we can begin to explore concepts like sensitivity to extrasensory phenomenon. And we can also begin to link that to delusions of grandeur. Because when it comes to things like observing extrasensory phenomenon, other people can never know if you are telling the truth about what you're experiencing or not. And there are ways even where one can convince themselves that their delusions are true. And they can be hooked up, to a brain scan. And what the brain scan will show is that these people are actually experiencing the reality of the delusions that they have created for themselves. So there is a little bit of space in between there as well to explore these concepts of extrasensory phenomenon, such as enchantments to the land, imbuing of significance to certain objects, or quantum entanglements between people. These are just floating around in my head as I traverse a pathway which has been groomed in a way that I am not familiar with. I find it quite strange. But yeah, like I've been here before and I can tell. And I feel like that concept applies to the love of one's own land. And you could say like even 1 hour of hard work put into a garden is enough to imbue it with a very large amount of magical strength. It becomes yours. It's something that you've worked on, just like a song or any form of creation. It's something that you've worked on, and it is like in that work that you begin to really show how you can glorify this world of creation, how you can show beauty in this world of creation. So the harder that you work and intentionally work, like not just phoning it in, not just being lazy, not just doing the bare minimum, but really doing the best that you can with the resources that you have, like you can see how like that type of work is more significant than the type of work where one just phones it in. We could even see something like a multi-generational farm, having been imbued with the closest, people genetically. And we know that we have a preference for people who are more genetically similar to us. This has been observed in animals, where parents will always die for their children. But one chimpanzee, for example, would die maybe to save like 8 cousins or something like that. So you can see how, as genetically more removed you are, the less self-sacrifice you would endure. But you can feel something natural. It's the same feeling which would make somebody not want to sleep with their own sibling. It's like just a weird form of disgust. And this is natural. This is something that's built into humans, and we feel close with our own bloodline. So the magical imbuing of a land, over several generations of a family or a tribe or a clan, in an entire town, or a people, a nation, in a country. These are magical acts in a way, that they are creating cultures, that are that the rest of the world is preconditioned to, Like there are nations creating status quos for hundreds, thousands of square miles, just creating worldviews, creating the way that the picture of the world is really seen, and not religiously, not like reading from any book. But I even think that like a lot of religious people are limited, they're limited, and they're not able to actually see their faith in full, because the world that they're living in affects their worldview so much, more even than the religion, because the religion used to be like a complete worldview, but for some reason our modern world has penetrated the consciousness so much. Just modern culture, you could say cult, sure. I think actually, like was the first civilization, but modern culture has pierced that veil of worldview so far to as like create a barrier between people and actually being able to understand their holy texts in a way that is like a complete worldview. So that's a critique on limitations of any worldview, is that it can be penetrated and your faith can be shaken. And if you are like truly Gnostic, not in like the 1st or 2nd century heresy way, but like in the way that like you want to experience this world and understand it for what it is, understand reality for what it is, understand how the process of knowledge and creativity and growth and good health, beauty, aesthetics, understand how all of these things work. You really have to have an adaptable worldview unless you've truly covered all your bases. We have weaved quite a web today, but I think that will be all. This has been Wandered Wonder signing off.